In today's episode, we have an amazing conversation. We speak with Amita Deshpande, a tech professional, a computer IT engineer, worked in the corporate world, went to the US, took the traditional path, but then felt a soul calling to do something in the upcycling industry and work with rural people. In this episode, join me as we discover her journey in how she found this calling, what made her shift, and how she went about starting this social for profit enterprise, at the same time, empowering rural people and making a difference in her life and the lives of other people. Hi, Amita. Welcome to Beyond the Mold.
Hello, Salil.
It's so nice. This is our first time that we're ever doing this on site, outside of our studio. And I think it's a beautiful place that you have here. Thank you for having us here.
Thank you.
So, you're the upcycle lady.
Good. That's a good name. Better than plastic lady.
So tell us, what is upcycling?
You all know recycling, right?
Absolutely.
So recycling is converting one particular form into another and making things again out of it. Upcycling means making something better from what it was before, something of a better value. That's what we're doing.
And is this specific to plastic or?
It's a general term. Upcycling is a very general term, like recycling is. It's more than recycling. Upcycling is actually repurposing, because you're making something from one form to the other, but not downgrading its use or value, but actually upgrading its value. That's what we do at Recharkha.
So, Samita, how did you get upcycled?
That's a great question. So yes,
What was your previous form?
yes, you know that, right? I used to be an engineer, and that's how I started my initial few years of my career as
Right.
an IT engineer.
So, you're the upcycle lady now with running a large business with international sales. So, before we get there, just love to figure out what was that thought process where you came from. I do remember you telling me that you grew up in a very small place and with tribals around you.
Yes.
So, what was it? What did you see? What was the thing that bothered you?
Yeah. So I grew up in a place called Dadra Nagar Haveli. It's a union territory, and in a small town called Silvassa. More than 70% of the territory is tribal and forest area. And these tribals, when I was looking at them, though I was still a child, I used to like them in their forest homes or in their dwellings in the natural surroundings, rather than them having to migrate to cities and work as house helps or as industrial laborers. Why do people have to leave their villages and come to the cities? What is the need for them to do that? As I was growing, I was also getting associated with some NGOs who were actually working on migrant labors and stopping migration, working in the rural areas to set up something for them in villages so that they don't have to go outside, or making some uh, interventions in farming, for example, so that they can stay back and work there only. So those kind of things were always, I always liked that. Distress migration is a problem when they don't have any options left, especially either because of some kind of industry coming to their place and taking away all their land for industrial purpose. For example, though industries have job opportunities, not everybody get job opportunities in industries, right? uh, Secondly, they lose the nature, the environment around them, the trees from where they would have got fruits, forest fruits. They wouldn't get that. Obviously, waterways get started getting polluted. That's the
That was your
negative
first.
side of industrialization.
That was your first, I would say, trigger in your upcycling process.
Yeah,
In your mind upcycling.
sort of, as in these are all connecting dots. But what I was trying to look at is how these people who have been uprooted from their dwellings, from their natural dwellings, for no fault of their own, what if they can be there and get some work there? So that's where, this initial thought of livelihoods in rural areas started getting its roots in my mind.
I remember you telling me also that you used to go for a lot of treks.
So I used to go for a lot of treks, and that rural liking was always there. But now, when I used to go there, I also had started seeing garbage. And the garbage was because of obviously tourist trekkers who were coming from outside to those villages and throwing it and dumping it over there because of basic unawareness. And then the villagers obviously were not aware themselves, and they used to just collect all of this garbage and burn it. And the stores in villages also had started changing. Instead of selling local food, they were selling all packaged foods, all the multi-layered packaged foods that we get now everywhere, chips and biscuits and noodles and everything. So that's where the advent of plastic started increasing. And that's when I started realizing that these are the two things that I would like to work on potentially. But I didn't know when, where. I was
So
still
two things is
the migration issue,
tribal,
livelihoods issue,
yeah,
which now it's coming together. Obviously, at that point in time, I always looked at them as different
separate issues.
problems. Yeah, that there is a problem here, there is a problem here. What can I do? I didn't know. I was a software engineer working in a company in Pune, but that wasn't like I didn't know what I could do. I just knew that maybe on a trek that I go, I can talk to the villagers and try to make them aware about this issue, gather some plastic waste and bring it back to the city. And I used to do that and make my friends do that as well. Yeah, so that's where it sort of started.
So in this garbage, when you talk about garbage, is it mostly plastic? Mostly
plastic.
wrappers and all of this stuff?
Mostly plastic. So there was glass also, but gathering glass is a little difficult. But mostly plastic.
This is what, 80%?
Yeah, absolutely.
I always ask people, at what point did you say enough is enough and I need to reorient myself, I need to connect the dots, I need to do something, I need to get out of the regular world. I don't know if that's the right word, a regular world or a world which has been formed by society, which is imprinted on the mind, thinking this is the only option. At what point did that happen?
I think there were 3-4 different points. The first one was when I quit my corporate job, the IT job. So that was also a decision because this was getting me more attracted towards it. The environmental and the social angle. And I was finding myself sitting in front of the computer and thinking about that, though I was supposed to sit and do coding. And I had an offer for going abroad for studies. So that was a good opportunity for me. So I quit the corporate job. I moved to the US to study. And during again that period of time, I kept thinking that what do I want to do? Though it was a business degree, I took up courses in sustainability, CSR, those were new terms that were just cropping up at that point in time. So I took up some alternative studies, alternative subjects, studied in the US. And at the end of my course, my master's program, I had secured a job in a consultancy, which was, we used to make sustainability reports for Fortune 500 companies. And that was a very interesting topic for me because that was maybe the second sort of a turning point, is that I have been doing many things on my own by not using plastic since childhood, because I had somewhere in my mind, I knew plastic is non-degradable, then why am I using it? These questions used to come to me while I was 7th, 8th grade, since then only. So I had made these changes, but here a corporate was making those changes. So imagine if I stop using a straw, but if Starbucks bans straws, millions of straws per day are going to stop from going into the waste.
Impact is much higher.
The impact is much higher. So I really liked that idea of working with corporates, making changes and then reporting that. So I worked with this company in Chicago for a few years, making sustainability reports for some of my favorite companies. One was Starbucks and second was Mattel, which is the Barbie doll making company. many of these companies. It was very interesting, and I started working in Mumbai. But again, somewhere in my mind, I always wanted to be in associated with the rural roots of mine and our country, because I always knew that that's where more work is needed and not in the cities. So identifying those kind of projects was very important for me. So I did work in India for a few years in Mumbai, but in search of what I wanted to do more, I was on a trek in Himachal in June 2013, and that's when the actual turning happened. I got caught in the landslides that happened in June 2013, which everybody knows, during which the Kedarnath disaster, which was the most populated part of the Himalayas, which got impacted. But where I was, that was also impacted exactly the same, with the same, what is it, like intensity, but population wasn't harmed. But I got stuck there, spent a few days just in that town, waiting to get rescued. But while on our journey back to Mumbai, something was going on in my mind, that why am I going back?
You know what's so amazing? And I've seen a recurring trend of people that I've been interviewing. One coming back from the US, leaving an H1, going to the Himalayas. Himalayas,
Nice. Oh,
Himalayas making a
really?
difference in people's minds, and
Wow. I
so
think that's why our gurus used to also go to the Himalayas, right?
right. But
To find
yeah,
themselves.
but cut to 2023, right?
Hmm.
2023. Dare I call yourself to be a successful businesswoman? You're running a for-profit company. It is doing. What's the right word? It is doing. I like to call it humanity plus. What kind of business would you call it?
It's an eco-social enterprise.
Eco-social enterprise.
Yeah.
But it's an enterprise. It's a
It's an
for-profit enterprise,
Totally.
making money. You said you clocked about 2 CR
Yes.
this year, last year.
Yes.
Which is a fantastic achievement, and I think I can see you on a growth track. So how are you doing it now? How are you doing it now in terms of what is driving you? What is the company currently doing, Recharka? If you can just give us a quick update there.
Sure.
So coming from that, you had the two pain points. One was about the tribal migration, distress migration. Second was about upcycling. And how do you take two of that, convert that pain point into your mission, and get to where you are today?
That's absolutely very, very interesting, that journey, because when I had decided that I want to now work for only the cause that I have been finding, and that's when these two topics actually came in front of me, that I want to do something with livelihoods, but I want to also make the waste which I had been seeing since childhood. I wanted to make use of that. So while searching what can be done with waste, there were obviously various options. There's plastic to fuel, plastic recycling, blah, 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 like an industrial process. But I did not want to go that route. And that's when, through the research that I was doing and the travels that I was going, I found out that handicrafts is something that I can actually adopt as a process in what I want to eventually do in Recharka. And that's when weaving of plastic waste came I saw that happening in front of me, and then I picked up that idea that this is what I want to do. So today in Recharka, we are actually upcycling plastic waste, and that also plastic waste which is not easily degradable. We are upcycling it, we are taking it, we are making use of just a pair of scissors and charkha and handloom to make fabric from this plastic waste.
No power.
No power.
Without using any
no
power.
electricity. So it's just these three machines: scissors, which is a machine; charkha, which is a traditional weaving equipment; charkha and handloom, and making fabric from it. And that fabric is then stitched into various products for consumer use, because obviously we have to make something that's marketable, with something people need on a day-to-day basis. Now, because the process is very laborious, it's hand woven, we had to make a product which could be upscaled And as a result, we chose a product such as totes or home decor products, which were sort of necessities and luxury items at the same time, and taking them together and making products from them. That's why making products such as handbags, accessories, which are necessities but also can be sold at a good price, because then only there will be value given to the handicraft that we are doing. So remember, it's not just upcycling, recycling of plastic. There's a lot of handmade work that is going behind it. So we had to select a product and select a target audience or market which would accept that.
So how many products do you have, Amita, today?
We have over 25 SKUs, and yeah, so different products ranging from office stationery, office bags, laptop bags, school bags, home
So
decor
this is,
products.
I mean, I find this truly amazing. 25 products. You're using hand, you're using hand, no power to make products. And you have a multi-crore business, selling across India, across online, offline, the physical store in Bombay.
Yeah.
Physical store in Bombay with some retailers in the US, smaller size. Um, where did you even get this kind of know-how? I mean, where did you learn all this stuff from?
So it was from these artisans. So to be honest, it's not an invention. It's a discovery based on whatever crafts that I had seen, and I wanted to use some handicraft to make this upcycling. So I went through crochet. I went through various techniques in origami and weaving, and that's when weaving seemed to be doable. Then I searched where can we get these handlooms from. So we found some old sari manufacturers from where the handlooms could be procured. They had to be tweaked a little bit to suit the needs. I learned handloom weaving. Then I taught it to a few of the people who initially started working with me from the tribal village. So slowly, it was an organic growth. There was no initial investor funding the entire process, but it was through
And
experience.
you actually employ, when we are in this village.
Yes.
And you actually employ people from this village, right?
Yes. So that is the whole purpose, right? So when we started originally, the first workshop is in Dadra Nagar Haveli, which is where I grew up. So I already knew this little village. We had a little place there where this unit could be set up. So when we went there and we set it up, people actually came to ask that, hey, what are you doing here? Can we be a part of it? So that was something that gave me the boost that, hey, they want work. Not that they are, always trying to run away from the village, but they also want to work. And one of the boys actually started working with us, but after that, all the young girls and women from the village came to us for jobs. Same thing happened in this village as well. When we set up, first we just, got some of our trainers from Dadra Nagar Haveli to set up a loom. We got 2 or 3 women from the village to come and see what the work was, and they wanted to try it out. So they started working with us. We also, the Kaka who works with us, Khutwad Kaka, he stays right next door. So he became our supervisor. He got us in touch with more people. So today we have 24 people working, women.
From this village
From
alone.
this village where we are right now located. And the one in Dadra Nagar Haveli has 16 women and 3 men, out of which 2 are deaf and mute. Because our work not necessarily, requires that, sense organ as such, but in the sense that is actually a strength for them, because they're very focused. And they make such amazing fabric. Like, they are actually our master weavers. And when we are making the fabric, imagine how waste plastic is. It is in different colors, different forms. So it has to be thought through as to which color will go where, what kind of plastic's thickness will go with the other. So all of that needs to be thought through. So the initial years I went in experimenting the warp, experimenting the sizes that we wanted to do, the final products that we wanted to make, all of that. So it takes about a couple of years to actually set up everything, and then organic changes can take us to the next step. But till now we've been organically run, and we've been growing organically.
What is the future in your mind for this? Where would you see Rechakra?
It's in both the levels, right? So one is obviously developing the market, reaching to as many people as possible. Um, with the products, we also want them to start living a sustainable lifestyle. So we are also on, we are taking workshops and sessions on making people make right conscious choices and other things that they do in their lives, such as composting, making bioenzymes at home, choosing the right products to bring home, those kind of interventions we have started doing. And on the other side, the production, where what we were doing in Dadra Nagar Haveli, we just started here near Pune, and we plan to expand this center to actually also do more crafts from waste. So that's where, right in the production as well as in the market, both sides we are trying to expand. And we are also working a little bit towards vertically integrating ourselves. So where does your waste come from, right? So right now, originally when we started working with waste, collecting it from waste pickers and then making products from it. But we also started realizing that that was not a very sustainable source for us to go further. And people, consumers had started asking us whether we can give you our waste directly. So I was little averse for that, because in my mind it was to tell you that, hey, you keep creating waste, I am here to collect it from you. So I didn't want to leave that message with the consumers or with our supporters. So if only if they reduce their waste, they can send us whatever they have. That was sort of the communication which went from us to them. And today we get plastic waste coming from all around the country. We get parcels. That day in my bookshop, I found a parcel that has come from Kaza with plastic waste in it. One had come from Sikkim.
Wow.
Yeah, so places which you don't even think of. Of course, we have lots.
And
of...
do you know them or did they discover you?
No, they discovered us from social media. Yeah.
Interesting.
So we keep getting products from Bangalore, plastic from Bangalore, Pune, Mumbai, Chennai all the time. But never had I imagined that somebody is going to send it from Casa. Then we messaged him also that thank you for sending, really. Look, somebody local from Casa, I forget the name. But yes, that's
This clean washed plastic.
Because that is how our communication goes, that you have to keep it clean and dry and then send it to us.
So Amita, what is happening in the international scene right now when it comes to upcycling?
Mm-hmm.
Where are we in India? I mean, do we have a long way to go? Is it happening? Are we the leaders? I mean, are we up there or not there? We're nowhere close. Where are we?
We are much ahead of many other countries. One of the leaders in recycling, actually speaking.
Recycling or upcycling?
Recycling and then upcycling. So upcycling, I always say, is like a subset of recycling. Recycling can be downcycling or upcycling. But yes, upcycling more in India or the developing countries is larger because it requires labor, which is obviously very expensive in the developed world. So we are quite ahead, I would say, is what my belief is, because I already know so many people in India who've been in the field of upcycling glass, upcycling tires and shoes and so many things.
What are the various opportunities available to them? Right? Here is a cause which you can do good for the planet, for the country, for everybody around you, and you can earn money from it, right? So it's best of all the world. So what are the kind of opportunities in this space right now?
I think everything that you decide to do can be done in an eco-social manner, whatever it be. If you want to make paper, you can always make recycled paper. If you want to make metal work, there can be waste metal that can be reused and repurposed. Everything, right from architecture to engineering to medicine, using natural medicine, everything can be done in an eco-social manner. So it doesn't have to be in this field of waste or upcycling. If somebody has a business idea, I always tell my followers who want advice from me for business or work, what I try to tell them is that whatever be your idea, think out of the box. Think how you can benefit the social sphere, because you come from there. You have to give back to the society. Either like society, not just society, but to the environment, because that's where you are coming from. You yourself are born because of the environment. So whatever idea you have in your mind, think, how can I benefit the society? How can I benefit the environment? How can I not harm the society? How can I not harm the environment in process? And then go ahead with a business plan. I think every business can become an eco-social business.
And when it specifically comes to upcycling in this, um, which are the dominant players that you see in this country right now?
There are various smaller players. I don't think
Any
there is
large player?
anybody large.
Is there scope for a large business in this space?
Definitely. So waste bottles are now getting made into fabric and textiles. So that is definitely a possibility for large scale work. But those are again machine made products. So what I always wanted to do, and I feel that India has a scope for it. See, we are one of the largest population in the world, right?
What is the biggest challenge that you're facing right now?
Right now, so the challenges kept changing. Originally, when we started, getting waste was a challenge, or the waste in right form, because people think that there's garbage everywhere. How can that be a challenge? But coming clean and dry plastic waste in the right form was a challenge, and we've now overcome it through people's support. Through education, people's support, making them understand why segregation is important, segregation at source, why is it important, and how can they send dry and clean plastic waste to us. So, through that, we've sort of overcome the challenge. The challenge that I find now, it's a very funny challenge, is to get, and it's actually appropriate for the audience, is that to get the right talent. Because in today's world, what is happening is people are always wanting for a very high paid job. They don't mind just sitting in front of the computer and doing something, even if it is a copy paste job. They don't mind doing it if they're getting paid high for it. But they don't want to join somewhere where they're not going to get paid as much. So not that we are not paying well, to our admin team, but obviously it might be a little lesser than what they would have got in an alternative industry. But I always say to this, even to students or in campus talks that I give, is that and that's what I learned from my own experience, satisfaction is the most important. If I come home at the end of the day, no matter how much is my paycheck, and if I'm not satisfied with what I'm doing, I'm not going to be happy. So looking at where can I get to learn more, where can I get that satisfaction, where can I get the peace of mind, that is where is most important. And today even our tribal artisans say the same thing, that मिल सकता है जॉब बाहर जाएंगे तो, but हम यहाँ खुश है. We are happy, we are with our family, we are in our forest, we are staying here, we are getting a good salary to take care of our lives. That is what I'm talking about. So it's not just about the artisans, but I'm actually trying to convey this message to our listeners who are young, educated folks who are only looking at the paycheck. But I think they should now start looking at what they're going to get out of it. A larger cause, if they're going to become a part of, then why not? And
when was the first time you got happiness? Okay,
Yeah.
When was the first time you got that?
I think while I was still working in the IT company, I was also volunteering. So I had actually visited this tribal area in Trambakeshwar, I think around that place, somewhere in Trambakeshwar, with one of my mentors at the IT company. And that day I saw it, firsthand, how tribals were living. We stayed with them, as in we had a group of people with us. We stayed with them. We went for a trek, understood the dependence of them with the forest. Because tribals, I hate the forest. If there's no tribal, the forest will go away, and vice versa. If there's no forest, the tribals will go away. So that day when I heard this whole concept and this whole story, I was like, this is something that I really want to work on. So that day I was really satisfied. And that's when I think the whole channelization started.
Right. I think this is now your
yes.
heaven on earth. living in unity with the land.
That is a dream. So this is like one of the first steps towards
Yep.
achieving the dream. So we plan to make this into a place where people can actually come, learn, take inspiration. So we are developing it slowly. It is quite near Pune, so visitors from Pune can reach here in an hour or so, get to see how we make the products, like the fabric. Product making can be seen in the Pune unit itself. We have a store there, but if somebody wants to come here, there'll be more that they'll get to see. So we are trying to develop it this way. We have the construction is sustainable, plantation that we are doing is entirely native trees. We are trying to conserve the soil. We've already built an eco pit for sewage instead of a basic regular sewage treatment plant. So yeah, we're using lime instead of cement for mortar for construction. We've used bamboo. So there's just little things that we are learning ourselves and taking it ahead.
What was your biggest failure till now? And through that failure, what was the biggest lesson that you learned? Something come to your mind?
Yeah, so it was one of the initial days itself. We had set up a unit closer to Pune before starting in Dadra Nagar Haveli. And we had set it up in one person's house. A handloom, two handlooms were set up in his house, and we thought that people will start coming and working just because we've shown them how it's done. But then we started to understand that people are not coming, and then we went and asked why were they not coming. So they thought that because they have to work with waste, that dignity in the society will go down. So it was a very weird thing which I had not even thought about. That there was so much of you know sort of stratas in the society which have been developed, that if I'm from a higher caste, I will not do work with waste. So that was something very weird. And so we had to stop our work in that village, and then we moved it to the Dadra Nagar Haveli unit, which was a tribal village. And in tribals, there are no levels, there are no castes. And then initially itself, I started working with them. So I sat and washed plastic waste. I helped them do sorting. So when they saw that ये मैम भी कर रही है, दीदी भी कर रही है, तो हम भी करेंगे. So they also started doing it. So I think that was a big lesson, because we wasted almost 6 months in this whole process. Initial very precious years, months, I would say.
Good, Amita. Thank you so much for being on Beyond the Mold, and wishing you all the very best for your future. Lots of growth.
Thank you, Salim.
Lots of opportunities, lots of business expansion across the world.
Thank you. We would love collaborations from your viewers.
Absolutely. So I will put all the links down
Yes.
in our video so people can get in touch with you. And yeah, wishing you all the very best.
Thank you.